Well, hello, everyone. I'm Cheryl Ann, owner and director at Chef Kent Getson Consulting, and I'm here today with our chef, Chef Kent, owner and consulting chef. And you're tell us where a little bit about where you are right now.
I'm in a hotel in Ridgecrest, California.
All right. What have
It's
you been up to in
middle.
Ridgecrest?
We're doing a training here, and I'm working for the Sierra Sands School District this week, and we've been here all week. And what we're doing is, well, ultimately, it was kind of a fun build up to it because Friday they're having a senior breakfast to celebrate the seniors who are graduating this year. And so the basis of the whole training is breakfast. They're going to do this breakfast, um, a big breakfast meal for the kids. And so what I thought was during the week, we could train on breakfast items and then make some as we go through the week, make different components that will, so we're basically doing prep for Friday's breakfast, and we're learning all kinds of different things. Like for instance, we made granola and everything's from scratch. So I'm just like, I don't know if that's obvious, but the work that we do in schools is scratch cooking for the most part. I mean, we come in and we do all kinds of different things, little additional things, but the real push is scratch cooking. And so we're making granola and we're making oh, the sheet pan pancakes. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. I'd never made it before, but it'd be like basically taking pancake batter and pouring it into a sheet pan and then baking it off and then cutting it. And so we experimented with that this week, and it's excellent. Like the kids love it. And
Like rectangle pancakes?
well, you could cut them any shape you like, right? But the funny thing was, is the recipe calls for cutting it into like 3-inch squares. Two 3-inch squares is two bread grains.
Mhm.
But we were cutting them in sample sizes, so they were just like little pancake nuggets, and so we had little pancake bites. And a couple nifty things about that particular item is that instead of serving, syrup on the side or cupping up syrup, which is generates waste and cups and plastic and takes time, we just smeared the surface of the pancake when it came out of the oven with maple syrup, and it gave it a really nice shiny glaze. And it was just enough syrup to make it very nice and tasty. Nobody said, "Where's the syrup?" Everybody loved it. So we just served all these little, we just cut them in little pieces. And so that was a really good one. So that one they're definitely going to roll out next year. And then you can bake it ahead and you can put it in the freezer and then reheat it so when you need it. So you don't have to feel like you're under pressure every morning for breakfast. Because that's always an issue with breakfast is in schools is like we're gonna have to labor in the morning and we want to do scratch cooking, but we don't know what we can pull off in that small amount of time. So this works out really good. So we did granola, pancakes. I have my list here. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. Um, uh, we make a fruit salad. And I'm in California, so and California is just gobs of local food and local fruit and all that stuff. So we call it California Sunshine Fruit Salad, and we put a little simple honey and citrus dressing on it, which uh, which is really tasty.
Mhm.
And then we're doing bread pudding, cinnamon bread pudding with a little cinnamon cream cheese drizzle. So we make a little sauce from cream cheese, which is really easy. It's not cooked. It just gets put together in a blender or a food processor or immersion blender, cream cheese and cinnamon and a little bit of sugar. And or you could use honey if you'd like. And then we drizzle that on there.
Well, so you're planning
Completely
this
blanked out.
meal for the seniors on Friday,
Yeah.
and at the same time, you're training the staff with
Yes.
long-term skills they're going to be using from here forward. And you mentioned something, what we really wanted to talk about today was waste. And you mentioned that briefly when you were talking about syrup for the pancakes. And I was also thinking about waste as you were talking about the bread pudding because it's such a good application for reusing bread.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Totally.
So, will you talk just a little bit about what you've been seeing lately with waste and how you feel about it?
Okay. It's a really sticky topic.
I know.
I just seen um, pretty ugly things out there.
Mhm.
Makes me emotional actually because all the food that we see wasting in schools, and it's just not the way it should be.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, at first, you know, when you go into in schools, you know, we they cup up a lot of food, you know, into little cups, you know, canned fruit and condiments and things like that, um, and COVID really pushed us back, you know, as an industry, a long ways. Everything became packaged,
Mhm.
everything became cupped and scooped and packaged, uh, kids are really tired of it, and and I would imagine the planet's kind of tired of it too, because schools are like really dumping a lot of waste into the system, and I just mean plastic waste. But then if you're just talking about the food itself, there's just so much food that goes into garbage cans. And I think, you know, a lot of it has to do with when if you're purchasing an item, a unitized item like a burrito or a corn dog or a chicken nugget, the dilemma is if I overproduce, what do I do with that extra food? What do I do with a leftover chicken nugget or a leftover corn dog or a leftover burrito? Those are really hard questions to answer, to be honest, because um, you end up having this extra food, and it's really tough to take a unitized piece of food like that and utilize it in another way, you know,
Mhm.
like for instance, uh, if I had made something like some kind of a ground beef, like a taco meat thing, you know,
Mhm.
um, and I had extra ground beef, then I can cool the ground beef and utilize it in another way in a couple days or tomorrow, or I can freeze it or something like that. But if I have a bunch of burritos or chicken nuggets, they don't reheat well. I mean, you can reheat them, but they're certainly not going to be, they weren't really great to begin with. And then they're not going to be better. So, so these are very entrenched problems in school food service. Like that's just one that's really hard to get past because in school food service, so many schools are using heat and serve products. So that's one that's really got to figure that one out. So serving less heat and serve products would be really good. Um,
Now, you mentioned that kids are getting tired of it. You think the planet's getting tired of it. I know that it's, since I've known you, it's been on your heart, something that's really gotten to you. Um, I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing about uh, something that you did in the Wenatchee schools, story you told me a long time ago. Do you remember what I'm referring to?
I know what you're referring to. Yeah, I think so. Um, and I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about the fact that this is like, I'm going to generate waste no matter what. You're going to make waste. Okay. There's just no way around it. And you're going to throw of organic material. Uh, the idea is to minimize the amount of waste that you produce and to reutilize and you reuse any as much as possible. Because as soon as it goes in the garbage, then it's in the garbage. But once it's in the garbage, how could we do something other than just put it into the dump, into the regular dump, right?
Mm.
So composting is a thing, and I know people all over the country are doing composting. So um, right before I left Wenatchee back in 2016, I started a composting program, and I literally the planets lined up so that this could come down. I had a company that a farm company, apple producer in the Wenatchee Valley that was already doing composting on a huge industrial level. And they were looking for organic material for their compost because it really is helpful to have that kind of material for composting. They had lots of tree and branch material and chopped up wood and things like that, but they really needed some food. So they came to me and said, "Hey, I know you generate food waste. If we provided you with bins and totes and pick up the food for you and take it to our facility and it cost you nothing, would you facilitate making it so that the kids would sort their garbage and all that stuff?" And that's like, yeah, okay, we did that. Um, so that's great. So composting is a solution, is part of the puzzle. But I
Mhm.
think the very first part is how do we stop making waste? How do we minimize waste? How do we get to the point where we're throwing away less food?
Mhm.
And we're talking about bread pudding, and so what's an example. So bread pudding is an example. So in schools all the time we make sandwiches. We use buns, hamburger, hot dog buns, diced sliced breads. You got the heel on the end of a piece of bread. Some schools are going to the trouble of buying fancy bread like baguettes, and you always, maybe you might cut the skinny ends off the baguette, and a lot of this food just goes right into the garbage immediately. Like it's thoughtlessly thrown away. Okay, and but with bread pudding, then I can just cut up the bread and make bread pudding from it. Any bread at all. Okay, like muffins, biscuits, bagels, scones. It doesn't even matter what kind of bread, literally. And that actually makes for fun menuing because you can say, hey, we're having cinnamon roll bread pudding, or we're having chocolate chip muffin bread pudding. Imagine that, or bagel and cream cheese bread pudding. So many fun ways to menu based on the types of bread that you're serving. And it can be sweet in the form of bread pudding. It could be savory in the form of strata, which is basically the exact same thing, bread and custard. Uh, One is sweet and one is savory. Strata is savory and so you can have all kinds of things. And then the other thing that's great about these particular breakfast items is that you own the sugar. I mean, you don't inherit it from some company with whatever is in there. You get to decide how much sugar goes in it. And of course, we all should have on our radar reducing sugar, not just because the feds told us to, but because it's really important for kids.
It's important for all of us.
Yeah. Um, so back to bread pudding. That's an idea where you can utilize waste, right? If I have roasted potatoes, or I have cut vegetables from something, or leftover ham bits, or something, anything, so
Mhm.
many things, I can use that meat or those components, cheeses, bits and pieces of things that I'm making in my kitchens that can go into these stratas and bread puddings to use them up. Okay, so this becomes just a place where I can utilize my waste. And we're I'm constantly telling people all the time, like, really, really consider before you put a menu item on, what am I going to do with the leftovers? If the answer is I'm just going to throw it in the garbage because I have no idea what else to do with it, then maybe don't menu that one. There's lots of things to menu, okay? And maybe that's just not the one you should menu, okay? So be thinking of ways to reutilize something, okay, as opposed to throw it away. And if you have to throw food away, then like let's start working towards some sort of composting program or something like that. Another thing that was really impressive to me was a district here in California and it was county-wide, so it was a really kind of a cool county-wide program where they would come in and collect the food from you. This particular district, they had a van that went, they didn't have a van, that whoever it was, I don't remember the entity, but they would go around and pick up every day. They'd go stop at each of the schools and pick up the leftover food while it was still hot and ready to eat, and they would take it somewhere to be fed to people who needed it.
Mhm.
So that's really cool too. But I also want you to know that can be one of those things that you fall back on, is like, oh, it's just going to go it's just so great that we're sending all this food to this charity, and that's great. But let's try to send as little food to the charity as we can, because it's still money, and it's still your program, and it's still your department, and it's still your budget, right? So these, like, composting is a fail safe, right? It's the last resort. Giving the food away is kind of also that way. Okay. Um, so those are a couple of options you can use if you're struggling what to do. But um, it made me think of another idea, was that districts could really benefit from having a specialist on their team that deals with waste and waste management and waste education. And I was thinking of a particular district here in California that's very large, and doing a lot of food, and a lot of waste. Okay, they're
Mhm.
generating a lot of waste, and a district of that size could probably pay for that position within a very small amount of time, considering the amount of waste that we're seeing. Um,
Like you're saying, they order $30,000 less, and then
sure,
a couple
exactly.
per month, and a couple
Yeah,
months in, they've got almost an entire salary.
exactly. And this person's job would be um, multifaceted. It would be like training the kids to utilize share tables better.
Mhm.
Okay. Sometimes, I mean, share tables are great, and I see them all the time in schools everywhere I go. And uh, they park a share table out somewhere in the cafeteria area, and the idea is it's a great idea. The kids come through the line, and they have to take something they don't really want. Sometimes, a lot of times, in the form of fruit or vegetables. And the idea is instead of throwing it away, they put it in the share bin, and another kid who's still hungry could take something from the share bin. But I see share bins not utilized in a very, very good way when I observe them out in the field. Okay, they could be done better. So this is a job that someone could do. This specialist, this food waste specialist could do.
Yeah. Will
Teach
you
kids
talk just
how.
a little bit about how you can do a share table in a way that is most effective?
Yes. Um, if it were a perfect world, you could
Mhm.
park a share table next to every garbage can. What
Mm.
usually happens is a share table is parked right at the exit of the line
Mhm.
because that makes sense, right? I mean, the kids are leaving the lunch line and they don't really want the apple you gave them, so they could just put it in the waste bin. I mean, I'm sorry, not the waste bin,
Right.
the share table, right? And that makes sense in a logical sense. But kids
Mhm.
are kids, So the kids come to the line, talking with their friend, they got the apple they didn't want, and they go sit way over there on the left corner of the cafeteria, and 60 yards away is the share table, and the
Mhm.
bell rings, and the kid's not going to walk across the room. The door's right there. He's just going to dump all his food in the garbage and go. So,
Mhm.
um, if you had a more share tables, then by every garbage can, and then you also really emphasize with the kids that food waste is not good.
Mhm. Or
Talk to the
educating them
administration. That's
on
what I mean.
how much food they're saving.
Yes, absolutely. Don't yell at them and degrade them for it, but just teach them. Teach them. And kids are smart, and they're also, I think they really want to do the right thing. I think, you know, you get those squirrely kids that just want to throw stuff in the garbage and they don't give a rip about things. But most kids, I think, really would prefer to not do that, especially if they have a good reason to not do it.
Mhm.
Or I might see to do it or not do it, like throw it away or put it in the share bin. So I think this person that I'm talking about could also work with administration in buildings, like go around to buildings and work with principals and say, um, could we have an opportunity to talk to the students at an open forum, like an assembly? I need 15 minutes and I just want to chat with them about food waste, or class to class, or a curriculum piece that maybe is associated with science or with reading or with math, where you could talk about waste in very, very candid ways. And because I don't think we do a good job of that. I don't think I mean, so much. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about this topic. So, teaching the kids class to class, I think if we just tell kids don't throw food away, that's not, there's not a reason. Just don't throw it away. Oh, I know, free. We put the word free out there. The food's free. In California, all the food's free. All the meals are free. So people get the perception that the food is free. Food's free. It's not free. It was never free. Let's follow the path of a carton of milk from the cow, from the birth of the cow, the water, the feed. Then we have a cow that actually produces milk, and we gather the milk from the cow, and then we ship it, store it, homogenize it, blah, 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 it, put it into little teeny cartons, get it into here and there, and move it across the country, around the state, and then we throw it in the garbage. Like horrible, unopened milks. It's just, it's senseless waste.
Mhm.
Some waste is unavoidable, but there is so much senseless waste. We have to think through it differently. So that's what this guy could be doing. This person,
Mhm.
this person could be educating, working with charities, finding the charities, helping the menu planner come up with ways to use buy less, like look really closely at how much you're producing each day. pull back on certain items. Just so many things, so many facets of waste management that a specialist could come in and do. So I'm rambling about this now, but I really think that the problem could be really helped a lot by better improved share tables, educating kids, reducing the amount of food we throw in the garbage, being really careful about how we menu,
Mhm.
menuing with the purpose of with the first purpose in mind of serving really good quality food, but the second purpose is what are we going to do with food that's left over from today?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and I don't have really super straightforward answers. I wish I did, but it's such a massive topic that it's something that really requires, some people love to problem solve. I love to problem solve. And I know I'm not the only person on the planet that loves to do that. So this is one of those things that you bring to your team and you say, how do we reduce waste? Sit down with your team and talk about it. It's important enough topic to talk about it at your leadership team level when you're talking about principals, directors. Um, you're talking about like if you wanted to, you could just scoop up dollars and throw them right into the garbage can because that's what you're doing. When you dump 40 corn dogs into the garbage can, I just put $35 into the garbage can. Um, those are visuals that you can like toy with, you know. I think it reminds me of when I was putting that composting thing together for Wenatchee Schools. As a promo, I put out I found this I don't know where I found it. It's online. I found a picture of a garbage truck, a big giant garbage truck, and it was offloading money into the dump.
Mhm.
And I put like this ghastly header. It said $285,000 dumped at the dump today. And it's like, that's silly. That's not really happening. Uh, but it is.
Mhm.
It's
It's a
it is.
powerful visual.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about how a lot of things changed during the pandemic, and we had to adjust at the time. And then we just got used to doing things in a certain way. And it reminds me of a heartbreaking story that you told me about a recent district where you were talking about the waste, and you want to tell that
Yeah.
story. Hmm.
I was just observing food being wasted in a huge way and was like horrified. And I said to the employee, I said, this is so bad. This is just a regular everyday employee, not anybody in leadership, just a everyday employee whose job it was to throw away the food. Um, and I said, this is so horrible. And she goes, I know, chef. And when I first started here, I was so blown away by it and I was so disgusted by it, but I got used to it. That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad right there
Yeah.
because
I
it
think
just becomes invisible.
we become desensitized.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time we see someone throwing away food, we should be thinking about a train wreck that we just observed while you're driving by on the road and there's an accident. It's horrible. But we have to look at it. Well, keep looking and do something different. You got to do something different. I mean, if you talk about, I mean, I don't want to get like weirdly political or anything, or like even like conspiracy theory weirdness, but I want to say that if we're talking about climate change and methane gas and the way we've been kind of told by science that the reason why the climate's changing has to do with this methane gas that because we throw away our waste, right? There's a good reason that we should minimize the waste, right? I mean, like let's compost it, let's minimize it first, let's compost it, let's give it to people who need it. Let's really think about it. Let's educate kids that the food is not free. You get it for
Yeah.
free. That's great. That's cool for you, but it's not free. It was never free to begin with. It costs
No.
it costs tons of money.
An example of why it isn't a partisan issue. As you talk about environment, we can also be talking about taxpayer dollars.
Right.
It
Responsible. Yeah.
it affects all of
Everyone.
us.
Right. Just like you're paying your tax dollars pay for the National School Lunch Program as an American citizen. You pay for that, out of your tax dollars. And then we just throw that money in the garbage.
Mhm.
And it's ghastly.
Mm.
I wish I could come up with a better word. I can, but I can't say it here in public.
Aha.
I have all kinds of words I'd love to say about it, but they're not nice words.
I also want to emphasize that feeding kids is really important to us, or we wouldn't be doing this work. And so we love that kids are getting free meals in school.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think kids should get feed. I think we should feed our kids in schools and it
Mhm.
shouldn't cost them.
Families shouldn't be burdened by
Shouldn't
that.
have to burden families with that.
Mm.
So
And yet, there's
yeah,
just, it's a complicated problem.
it is very complicated, complex, complicated, all those things. And so I'm not coming here to say, "Oh, I've got all the answers or anything like that at all. I would just like to sound the alarm. Like,
Right?
let's please stop doing this. And it's going
You're
to
saying
take
we need to keep asking the questions.
totally.
We need to keep paying attention. Yeah, I know this was a tough topic to talk about today, but I really appreciate you speaking from your heart about it.
Thank you, Shelley.
I want to thank our viewers too for coming and joining us.
Yes. Yes. Keep doing a great
Probably
job
cut it off
of
before
feeding kids.
that.
You're doing really good work out there. You're feeding kids.
I think we should just stop and then you should say that again.
Okay. Feeding kids is really important and you're doing that. And it's really important. And thank you. And it's oftentimes a thankless job, you know. But give yourself a little pat on the back if you're not getting one from anybody else. And remember it's professional level work. You know, I'm thinking about what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a doctor or a lawyer. I fix cars or I build houses or whatever. That sounds so important. But then you say what you do. Oh, what do you do? I feed thousands of kids lunch and breakfast every day. And it's like, really? How many people do you know that do that?
Mm-hmm.
That's big work,
Yeah.
skilled labor. It's important. So, way to go.
Thank you, School Food Pros.